Unity has a variety of attributes that can be placed above a class, property, or a function to indicate special behavior. And C# contains attributes names within the square brackets. In this video, I will be showing you some common attributes you can add to your scripts. The first one is serialized field. This forces the Unity to serialize a private field and make it visible in the inspector. In this example, I have a player class and a private variable myObject with the type of GameObject. As I switch back to Unity, we cannot see the private variables in the inspector. For any reason, if you want to see the myObject in the inspector panel, instead of making it public, we can serialize this field. And the syntax is very simple. On top of the variable, type serialized field inside the square brackets. Note that you may experience a 0649 warning when you're applying a serialized field to a private variable. To prevent this, simply initialize the variable upon declaration. For convenience, you can use a keyword default. Now switch back to Unity to view the impact. And give it a moment to recompile it. And now the inspector window will refresh itself. Now we can see the myObject in the inspector. Next we have a range attribute. This attribute takes a float or int variable restricted to a specific range. These fields appear as a slider in the inspector. To show you this, I have written two variables. Integer range is an integer type and a float range is a float type. Switch to Unity to view how they display in the inspector panel. So we have a number value in both fields, and we can select the field and type the number we want. And there is no restriction in the range as well. To specify a fixed range and to add a slider, we will be using a range attribute. Go back to Visual Studio. On top of the variable you want to convert to a slider, in the square brackets type range, and in the parentheses type the range. I'm typing 2, 10. Actually make it 1 to 10. And that will create a slider in the inspector that will be ranged from 1 to 10 for the integers. Switching back to Unity to view the changes. And there we go, we have a nice slider with a range of 1 to 10. We can make it all the way go to up to 10 or all the way down to 1. And you can manage the user easily within the defined range. And manually, if you try to add a bigger value, it will make it back to the max. As it's an integer slider, so it's moving in an integer like 1, 2, 3. Jump back to Visual Studio and convert the float range, and it's a float variable. Following the same syntax, just value will be in the float. Now add the parentheses and give it the starting point. I'm giving 0.2f, comma, and 0.9f. So that's my range for the float. That's it. Switching back to Unity, and here we have a slider for the float range, and it will increase or decrease the value in the float. And the minimum value is 0.2 and the maximum 0.9. For the end user, it's really easy to use, and we can also keep it in the defined range. Next attribute we have hide in inspector. This makes a variable not appear in the inspector but to be serialized. For the demonstration purpose, I have declared a points variable. We have public int points is equal to 25. Switching back to Unity, so it's a public variable we can view in the inspector. In case if you want to hide the public variable, we can use hide in inspector attribute. Go back to your script, and on top of this variable in the square brackets type hide in inspector. IntelliSense is a great way of writing a code quickly. I just typed the HI and it's already predicting that do you want to type hide in inspector. To quickly type it, you can select it or press enter. Switch back to Unity, and you see now the public variable is not displaying in the inspector. The next attribute we have is required component. This automatically adds required component as dependencies to avoid setup errors. Please note, these attributes only check the moment that the component is added to a GameObject. To demonstrate this, I am adding a rigid body variable and a start method to get the rigid body component at the start. We will be holding a rigid body component in rigid body, and using get component, we are getting the component of rigid body. Switching back to Unity, so we have rigid body as public, and now enter the play mode. The project is started, but we didn't get anything in the rigid body. One way is we can manually add the rigid body and assign it, or what we can do is we can use a required component. This time on top of the class in the square bracket type required component. In the parentheses type of, and again parenthesis, and give it a rigid body. So it's kind of automating the process. So we are telling this is a required component, please add it yourself dynamically. And of course, in many situations, we need to add different components at runtime. Go back to Unity and start the play mode. As we start the project, Unity added a rigid body component to this game object. And from the start method, we get the rigid body component and assign to this variable, rigid body variable. And we can also make this variable a private variable and start the project, and it will work as same before. Just with the difference, it won't show the rigid body variable as it's private now, making it back to public. Next attribute, we have a tooltip. This shows a tooltip when the user hover a mouse over a field in the inspector. And the syntax is very simple. In the square brackets, just type tooltip, and in the parentheses pass a string as a tip. I'm writing player power value between 1 and 10. Going back to Unity and now hovering the mouse over integer range, as we have typed it over top of the integer range, and we have a nice slider, and it's also giving a tip what is all about. And we are only getting the tip on the integer range. We can add tips on all the variables as well. And the next attribute, we have space. This adds a small space between your fields without any additional text to create a visual separation between your fields. Type space and give it the space value. I'm giving it 10. That's mean the 10 pixel space. Saving the script and switch back to Unity. Now we have a space of 10 pixel below the my object and above the integer range. So it looks nice now. Let's try the 20 value and see the impact. Keep an eye on the empty space. Yeah, now it's extended a bit more. And that's how you can also differentiate the different type of functionality. You can make a group of functionality. Now let's try adding a space above the points variable. The point variable is actually hidden, so it will be giving a space above the rigid body variable. Actually, let's move it above the rigid body. It looks clean. And make the both spaces around 15. Go back to Unity and let it refresh. Using space, we have kind of separated the sliders from the other variables. And next attribute, we have header. This adds some bold text and spacing to help organize your variable in the inspector. Only add this to the first field that you want to belong to the group. In the square bracket, type header, and in the parentheses give a string of header. We are adding it above the integer range, so these are our power settings. Switching back to Unity, and after the refresh we will have a header above the integer range. So here we have our power settings now. And it's kind of telling the end user that these sliders are the power settings. Open the Visual Studio and actually let's make the float range as a health setting. I mean, we will be adding a header of a health setting. Switching back to Unity to see the update. Here we have the header of health setting above the float range. And what is next? Next we have a multi-line. This makes the string editable with the multi-line text field. Pass an optional in to designate the number of lines. For the demonstration, adding a player description as a string. Switching back to Unity, and here we have a player description string, and we can type a string here. I'm typing a player description or player details. To get a more space for the typing, I will be using a multi-line attribute. In above of the string, in the square bracket, just simply type multi-line. Switching back to Unity and keep an eye on the player detail area. So here we have a multi-line area now. And now it's easy to type multiple lines of the text. Switching back to script, and to add more area, we can add a value to the multi-line. In the parentheses, I'm adding 10. Now we will have more space to type. And now we can type more text easily. To demonstrate the next attribute, I will be adding a few simple 3D objects in the scene. And the next attribute, we have the selection base. This is useful for selecting a game object whose children may contain meshes. Add this attribute to any component on the base object. When picking object in the editor, the game object containing the selection attribute gets selected rather than the children. creating a third object, a capsule, and now in total we have 3 objects. We have the cube as a parent and sphere is the child. And next we are making capsule is the child of sphere. And now the cube is the grandparent. And when we click on the capsule, it selects the capsule, that is the child object. And when we click on the sphere, it selects the sphere. And same with the cube, that is the parent. Let's suppose my requirement is whenever I click on the child object, it should select the parent object, and then I can move around the parent with all the childs, avoiding the mistake of selecting child at the first hand. Adding an existing player script to the cube, we are attaching the script with the parent object. And above the class in the square brackets type selection base. It will make this game object as a base of the selection. Switching back to Unity and now click on this child capsule, but did you notice it has selected the parent cube? And we can move the parent game object with the childs. Let's try it again and moving it. That doesn't mean now we can't select the child object. We can double click on the child to select the child object. But now we have give the selection priority to the base object, to the parent cube, because our parent cube have a script attached that have a selection base attribute. And the next attribute we have is the formally serialized as. The current value is 8 in the integer range. If I will update the integer range variable, we will lose the data or this value, changing it from integer range to the power range. As it's a power setting, so now we have a power range. But on the Unity editor, we will lose the value. To avoid this, we can use this attribute. Demonstrate this, reverting the name back to integer range and setting the value to 5. Go back to your script and above the integer range, we need to add the formally serialized as. The IntelliSense is not getting it. I guess we need to add the namespace. Let's first add the namespace. Type using Unity Engine dot serialization. And now type the formally serialized as, and in the parentheses pass the old name of the variable as a string. In my case, I have integer range. I will copy and paste it here. And now I can update the new name, that will be the power range. And now we are hoping the new updated name will be the power range and we will be holding a old value of 5. So it worked. We have power range and the slider is at accurate position and we have the value of 5. Next we have runtime initialize on load method. It allows a runtime class method to be initialized when a game is loaded at runtime without action from the user. Methods marked runtime initialize on load method are invoked after the game has been loaded. This is after the awake method has been invoked. But keep in mind that the execution order of the method marked runtime initialize on load method is not guaranteed. My class is the non-mono behavior class. We have these two methods, on runtime method load and the second is on second runtime method load. And we have added an attribute runtime initialize on load method. Switching back to Unity, and as you know, the my class is a non-mono behavior class and it's not attached to any game object in the scene. Enter the play mode and open the console window. Here we can see these messages from the my class methods. And the next attribute we have add component menu. To demonstrate this, let's suppose I have a script that I frequently attach to the game object and I want to add a new entry in the menus to add a script. Above the class inside the square brackets type add component menu and in the parentheses as a string write enemy/enemy target. Switch back to Unity and open the component menu and at the very bottom you will find enemy and next you have enemy target. It is grayed out because we haven't selected any game object to attach this script. Select the test game object and again open the component menu and go to enemy and select the enemy target. By this we have attached enemy target to this game object. Let's try it again with the new cube object. I hope this video helps you. If you have any question, you can always ask me. Thank you for watching and I see you in the next. This video is from the online course, The Ultimate Guide to Increase the Productivity with Unity. The link of the complete course is given in the description.